The massive Kraxan warship emerged from hyperspace like a metallic leviathan, its obsidian hull drinking in the light of Earth's sun. Fleet Commander Nexer stood on the bridge, his crystalline exoskeleton refracting the soft blue glow of tactical displays surrounding him. This was supposed to be a routine conquest, the 247th addition to the mighty Kraxan Empire. Yet something felt different this time. Status report on the primitive species, Nexer commanded, his secondary breathing chambers expanding with anticipation. His chief analyst, Vera, stepped forward, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with confusion. Commander, the humans are unusual. They detected our approach 3 days ago, but there are no signs of panic, no mass hysteria, no emergency military mobilization. Nexer's crystalline fragments shifted in puzzlement. Every species they'd encountered had either descended into chaos at first contact or launched desperate, futile attacks. Show me their response to our arrival. The holographic display materialized, showing a composed human female in a simple blue uniform. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's newly appointed first contact ambassador, stood with quiet confidence that seemed incongruous for a species that had barely reached their own moon. "Greetings, Kraxan Empire," she began, her voice carrying an unsettling warmth. "We've been expecting you. While we appreciate your interest in Earth, we should inform you that your cloaking technology has a rather noticeable quantum signature. We've been tracking your scout ships for the past 6 months." Nexer's primary heart skipped a beat. Their stealth technology was supposed to be undetectable to primitive species. Before he could process this, Chen continued, "We've taken the liberty of preparing a comprehensive technological and cultural exchange proposal. You'll find our terms for peaceful cooperation quite reasonable. Though I should mention, we've noticed your ship's antimatter containment fields are operating at dangerous efficiency levels. We'd be happy to share our recent breakthroughs in particle physics." The bridge fell silent. Vera's bioluminescence flickered rapidly, their equivalent of nervous swallowing. "Sir, she's correct about the containment fields. How could they possibly?" Nexer raised a crystalline appendage for silence, studying the human's face. No fear, no desperation, just that same unsettling confidence. "You dare to propose terms to the Kraxan Empire? We have conquered 246 worlds. Our technology is beyond your comprehension." Chen's smile widened slightly. "Is it? We've been analyzing your faster-than-light drive signatures. Fascinating approach to quantum tunneling, though rather inefficient. Have you considered applying loop quantum gravity principles? We'd be happy to demonstrate our prototype drives." Warning signals flashed across the tactical displays. Vera's patterns pulsed urgent red. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout their solar system. They're activating something." Across the void of space, thousands of structures previously hidden in the asteroid belt shimmered into view, massive rings of technology that dwarfed the Kraxan fleet, humming with power that made their sensors scream in protest. "As you can see," Chen continued pleasantly, "we've been busy. Humanity has a rather unique perspective on advancement. We don't see threats as ends. We see them as beginnings. Every challenge is an opportunity to grow, to innovate, to become something more than we were yesterday." Nexer watched in stunned silence as the humans' orbital platforms demonstrated technology that should have been impossible for their development level. His tactical officer's analysis confirmed the worst. Their weapon systems couldn't penetrate the humans' defensive fields, but the reverse wasn't true. "The choice is yours, Commander," Chen said, her voice still carrying that warm, almost teaching tone. "We can fight, though our simulations suggest that would end poorly for everyone involved. Or we can talk about cultural exchange, technological cooperation, and a future where both our species grow stronger together. What fascinates us most about your empire isn't your current technology, it's your potential." For the first time in his long career, Nexer felt something he'd never experienced before, the humbling recognition that he wasn't dealing with prey, but with something far more dangerous, an equal who had been patiently waiting to be discovered. all while surpassing their would-be conquerors. He looked at the human's unwavering smile and made the only logical choice. "Perhaps," he said carefully, "we should discuss these terms of yours." Chen's smile reached her eyes. "Wonderful. And while we're at it, we have some fascinating insights about crystalline regeneration that might interest your medical teams. We noticed some stress fractures in your exoskeleton that our bioengineering division has been theorizing about." Nexer fought the urge to cover the hairline cracks in his armor that not even his own physicians had noticed. Somehow, he knew this was going to be a very long, very humbling first contact. 2 standard cycles had passed since Commander Nexer's first encounter with Ambassador Chen, and each moment had further shattered his understanding of the universe. He stood in Earth's orbital research facility, watching human scientists casually manipulate quantum fields with technology that shouldn't exist. "You see, Commander," Dr. Marcus Rivera explained, his hands dancing through the holographic interface. "Your Empire's approach to quantum mechanics was fundamentally limited by viewing spacetime as a continuous medium. We discovered it's more like a neural network, self-adjusting, learning, evolving." Nexer's crystalline structure trembled slightly as he watched the human scientist demonstrate principles that the Empire's greatest minds hadn't even theorized. Behind him, his science officer, Vera, was recording everything with an almost religious fervor, her bioluminescent patterns creating complex mathematical equations. "But how?" Nexer finally asked. "Your species only achieved spaceflight less than a century ago. The Empire has been studying quantum physics for millennia." Dr. Rivera smiled, that same disconcerting expression all humans seem to share. "That's precisely why we advanced so quickly. We had no preconceptions, no established theories to hold us back. Every problem was a fresh challenge, every solution a new discovery." Ambassador Chen entered the laboratory, accompanied by a holographic display of the latest data from the Kraxan fleet's medical bay. "Your crew's crystalline regeneration rates have improved by 300% using our treatment protocols," she reported. "Though we did make an interesting discovery about your species' genetic potential." Nexer felt his secondary heart flutter. "Genetic potential. Your ancestors engineered your crystalline exoskeletons as an adaptation to cosmic radiation," Chen explained. "Brilliant solution, but they accidentally deactivated several key evolutionary pathways. We believe we can reactivate them, allowing your species to self-modify your crystalline structures at will." The implications staggered him. His people had accepted their forms as fixed, unchangeable. The idea of conscious adaptation was revolutionary, dangerous, thrilling. Alarms suddenly blared through the station. Dr. Rivera's expression shifted from friendly to focused in an instant. "Temporal anomaly detected in Sector 7. Right on schedule." "Schedule?" Nexer asked, but the humans were already moving. Through the station's windows, he watched as massive rings of technology activated, creating a visible distortion in spacetime itself. "One of the first things we learned," Chen explained as they walked briskly to the observation deck, "was that the universe doesn't play fair. So we stopped playing by its rules. Watch." Before them, a tear in reality itself appeared. But unlike the crude hyperspace windows of the Kraxan ships, this was a controlled, precise manipulation of spacetime. Through it, Nexer could see possibilities, countless variations of Earth, of humanity, all sharing information, resources, and technology across dimensional barriers. "You've achieved trans-dimensional communication," Vera whispered, her patterns nearly white with shock. "That's how you advanced so quickly. You're learning from yourselves." "From every version of ourselves," Chen corrected. "Every Earth that survived, that thrived, that found different solutions to the same problems. We call it the multiversal internet, though getting the lag time down was a real challenge." Nexer watched as information flowed across dimensional boundaries, each Earth contributing to a collective pool of knowledge that dwarfed the Empire's databases. "Your species, you're not just one civilization. You're infinite civilizations working together." Now you're getting it. Dr. Rivera grinned. And here's the best part. We can teach your people to do the same thing. Imagine every version of the Kraxan Empire sharing knowledge, growing together. Not as conquerors, but as explorers of possibility. The commander felt something he hadn't experienced since his earliest days at the academy. Pure, unbridled wonder. His people had spent millennia building an empire across space, while humans had discovered how to build connections across reality itself. There is one small problem we'd like your help with, Chen added, her expression growing serious. We've detected something in the deeper layers of spacetime. Something old. Something that's noticed all this interdimensional communication. A new hologram appeared, showing readings that made even the humans' instruments struggle to interpret. Patterns that shouldn't exist, movements that defied physics across all known dimensions. Commander, Chen said quietly, how would your empire feel about joining humanity in something more important than conquest? Because we think we found the original architects of the universe. And they're waking up. Nexer looked at the readings, then at his science officer's excited patterns, and finally at the humans who had transformed from prey to teachers in mere days. His answer was immediate. Tell me everything. The Imperial Council's transmission arrived exactly as humanity's predictive models said it would. Nexer stood beside Ambassador Chen in Earth's Quantum Communication Center as the holographic forms of the Empire's ruling council materialized before them. High Chancellor Vexthor's crystalline form towered over the others, facets gleaming with barely contained fury. Commander Nexer, explain yourself. You were sent to conquer this world, not fraternize with primitives. Before Nexer could respond, information packets began flooding the Empire's quantum networks. Data about crystalline regeneration, quantum field manipulation, and transdimensional physics poured into every scientific database across Kraxan space. Chen had called it a demonstration of good faith. Nexer called it the most elegant coup he'd ever witnessed. Chancellor, Chen stepped forward, her voice carrying that same warm tone that had first unsettled Nexer. Your empire's stagnation wasn't an accident. We've discovered evidence that someone has been suppressing technological advancement across this entire sector of space, including yours. The council chambers erupted in chaos as displays materialized, showing mathematical proof of external interference spanning millennia. Quantum equations that had been subtly altered, technological paths that had been carefully redirected, all leading to a controlled level of development that never quite reached its true potential. Impossible, Vexthor declared, but his secondary breathing chambers were expanding rapidly, a sign of deep distress. The Empire's science is perfect, refined over thousands of years. Refined, Dr. Rivera interrupted, stepping into view, or constrained. Watch this. A demonstration began in the center of the council chamber. A simple crystalline structure, similar to the Kraxan's exoskeletons, began to evolve before their eyes. New patterns emerged, impossible geometries formed, and energy fields manifested that defied the Empire's understanding of physics. This is your species' true potential, Chen explained. The genetic locks we discovered, they're artificial. Someone wanted to make sure you developed in a very specific way. The question is, why? The council members' patterns shifted in agitation as the implications sank in. Their entire civilization had been shaped by unseen hands, guided down a predetermined path that kept them powerful enough to maintain order, but not powerful enough to detect their own chains. The architects. Nexer spoke up, addressing his leaders with newfound confidence. The humans have found evidence of the universe's original engineers, and they believe these beings have been orchestrating the development of multiple species, including ours. For what purpose? A council member demanded. We think they're building a firewall, Chen said, activating a new holographic display. It showed layers of reality itself, dimensions stacked upon dimensions, with curious dark spots spreading between them. Something is eating through the fabric of space-time. The architects created advanced civilizations to act as barrier nodes, maintaining the integrity of this sector of reality. But they made a mistake. They didn't account for humanity. Nexer finished. Your species evolved outside their calculations. Chen nodded. We developed too quickly, in unexpected ways. When we achieved trans-dimensional communication, we accidentally bypassed their safeguards. Now we can see the bigger picture, and we can help other species do the same. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Their mighty empire, their thousands of years of history, had been nothing but a carefully maintained program in someone else's cosmic computer. The choice before you is simple, Chen continued. Continue as you are, playing your assigned role in someone else's plan, or join us. Learn what your species can really become. Help us understand why the architects created this system, and why they abandoned it. Vexthor's crystalline form shifted, refracting light in complex patterns as he processed this reality-shattering information. And if we refuse, if we choose to maintain the empire as it is, Chen's smile took on a hint of sadness. With respect, Chancellor, that's no longer possible. The information we've shared is already spreading across your networks. Your scientists are already beginning to understand. Your people are starting to ask questions. Evolution doesn't go backward. As if to prove her point, one of the council members' crystalline structures suddenly shifted, forming new patterns that should have been impossible. The members stared at their own form in wonder as others began to manifest similar changes. The real question, Chen said softly, isn't whether you'll change. It's whether you'll help us understand why we all need to change. Something is coming, Chancellor. Something the architects feared enough to turn entire civilizations into living shields. We'd rather face it with allies than subjects. Nexer watched as the proud leaders of his empire faced the ultimate challenge. Not a threat to their power, but to their understanding of their own existence. In that moment, he realized that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their knowledge. It was their ability to turn enemies into students and students into partners. The Kraxan Empire's central archival world, Memorix Prime, had never seen such activity in its 1,000-year history. Crystalline archivists rushed through quantum-encoded data stacks as human scientists helped them decode their own history with new eyes. Above the planet, a network of humanity's trans-dimensional sensors hummed, searching for traces of the architect's influence. Dr. Rivera stood before a massive holographic display, watching as centuries of carefully hidden patterns emerged from the Empire's historical data. There, he pointed, his finger tracing a line through seemingly random events. Every major technological breakthrough in Kraxan history was followed by a mysterious disaster or conflict that pushed development in a specific direction. High Chancellor Vexthor, his crystalline form now showing signs of evolutionary awakening, studied the pattern. New facets had emerged in his structure, allowing him to process information in ways that would have been impossible weeks ago. The great combustion of the Third Age, the quantum plague, the dimensional storms, all engineered to guide our development. Like gardeners pruning a tree, Ambassador Chen added, entering the archive chamber. The question is, what were they trying to grow? Their answer came in the form of an alarm that shook the entire facility. The trans-dimensional sensors had detected something big. Multiple breaches detected. The facility's AI announced, reality fabric degradation accelerating across all monitored dimensions. The holographic display shifted, showing the layers of reality they'd been monitoring. The dark spots Chen had previously identified were spreading faster, consuming entire sections of space-time like cosmic cancer. It's happening sooner than we predicted, Chen said, her usual smile replaced by focused determination. The architect's firewall is failing. Nexer, who had been studying a data cluster nearby, joined them at the display. Show me the pattern of degradation. The view zoomed out, revealing something that made even the humans pause. The spreading darkness wasn't random. It was forming a shape, a vast, multi-dimensional symbol that stretched across reality itself. It's a key, Vexthor whispered, his new crystalline formations resonating with unexpected recognition. The architects weren't building a firewall. They were building a lock, and were part of the mechanism. Understanding dawned across both species as pieces fell into place. The carefully guided development of the Galactic Empire, their crystalline nature, humanity's unexpected evolution, all parts of a vast machine spanning multiple dimensions. The architects knew this was coming, Rivera theorized, his hands dancing across the controls as he mapped the pattern. They seeded this sector of space with civilizations that could serve as computational nodes. The Kraxen's crystalline structures are quantum processors on a biological scale. And humanity? Nexar asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. We're the random element, Chen said quietly, the variable they couldn't control. When we achieved trans-dimensional communication, we didn't just bypass their safeguards, we rewrote part of their program. A new alarm sounded, more urgent than the first. The darkness between dimensions was accelerating, the key shape nearly complete. But something else was emerging too, data, flooding through the gaps in reality, carrying information older than time itself. They weren't trying to keep something out. Vex Thor realized, his crystalline form resonating with the incoming data. They were trying to keep something in, something they created, something they couldn't control. The archive chamber's displays filled with equations that redefined physics, information that challenged the nature of existence itself. The architect's legacy, their greatest creation and their greatest mistake, pouring through the gaps they'd tried to seal. We have a choice to make, Chen announced, her voice carrying across the chamber. We can try to reinforce their lock, maintain the barriers between dimensions, or we can do what humanity does best, Rivera finished. Face the unknown. Learn from it. Grow stronger. The Kraxen leaders looked at their human allies, seeing not the primitives they'd once dismissed, but pioneers who had broken free of the architect's carefully laid plans. Their crystalline forms hummed with new possibilities, new potential unlocked by human insight. The architects tried to build a perfect prison, Vex Thor said, his form shifting into previously impossible configurations. Instead, they created the perfect classroom. The question is, are we ready to learn what they feared to teach? As if in answer, the darkness between dimensions began to take shape, reaching out with tendrils of pure information, ready to share secrets that had been locked away since the dawn of time. The tendrils of dark information reached across dimensions, carrying knowledge that had been sealed away since the universe was young. In Earth's Quantum Defense Command, humans and Kraxen worked side by side, their combined technology creating a safe channel for this ancient data to flow through. Ambassador Chen stood at the central control hub, watching as reality itself seemed to hold its breath. All channels stable, beginning primary information reception. The first wave of data hit like a tsunami of consciousness. Images, concepts, and understanding that defied traditional physics flooded through their carefully constructed buffers. Dr. Rivera's hands flew across quantum interfaces, working in perfect sync with Kraxen crystalline processors to decode the incoming stream. It's beautiful, Nexar whispered, his crystalline structure resonating with the ancient information. Throughout the facility, other Kraxen were experiencing similar reactions, their bodies automatically adapting to process the flood of knowledge. The architects weren't our creators, Vex Thor announced, his form shifting through impossible geometries as he integrated the data. They were our children. The truth unfolded across their linked consciousness. The architects hadn't been trying to imprison something dangerous. They had been trying to preserve something precious. Themselves. Their civilization had evolved beyond physical reality. But in doing so, they had begun to lose their connection to the universe that birthed them. They seeded multiple dimensions with life, Chen explained, watching the story unfold across their displays. Created species that could evolve in different ways. The Kraxen's crystalline forms to process quantum information, humanity's adaptability to find unexpected solutions, all in hopes that one day their children would evolve enough to understand them. But why hide this knowledge? Rivera asked, still working to stabilize the dimensional channels. Why not simply tell us? A new wave of data answered his question. Images of civilizations that had received too much knowledge too quickly, burning themselves out in spectacular chain reactions of progress. Species that had tried to follow the architects into transcendence, only to lose themselves in the attempt. They needed us to evolve naturally, Vexthor realized, to develop the stability to handle this knowledge. The Empire's controlled growth, humanity's unexpected evolution, all part of a grand experiment in guided development. Not an experiment, Chen corrected, smiling as she finally understood. A garden. And now the gardeners are ready to talk to what they've grown. The darkness between dimensions wasn't decay, it was transformation. The architects weren't destroying reality. They were opening doors that had been closed for millions of years, waiting for their children to be ready to walk through them. Nexer watched in awe as his crystalline form naturally evolved to process more of the architect's data. They're not just teaching us, he said. They're learning from us. Our physical forms, our connection to base reality. We have something they lost. A bridge between worlds, Rivera nodded. They evolved beyond physical reality, but we can exist in both states. We can help them remember what it means to be part of the universe, while they teach us how to transcend it. Throughout the facility, humans and Kraxan work together, their differences becoming advantages as they process the architect's knowledge in complementary ways. The Empire's ordered, crystalline minds provided structure to humanity's chaos, while human intuition found patterns that Kraxan logic might have missed. Chancellor, Chen addressed Vexthor, I believe this makes our earlier discussions about conquest rather obsolete. Vexthor's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been laughter. Indeed, it seems the Empire needs to rethink its purpose. Perhaps it's time we became teachers rather than conquerors. As if in response to his words, new data flowed through their systems. Coordinates for other civilizations the architects had seeded, species that were approaching their own moments of revelation. Some had developed like the Kraxan, others had followed paths more similar to humanity's, but all were part of the same grand design. They're inviting us to help, Chen realized. To be part of awakening other civilizations when they're ready, to help maintain the balance between transcendence and physical reality. A new kind of empire, Nexer suggested, not of conquest, but of enlightenment. The facility hummed with power as more knowledge flowed through the dimensional barriers. But now it wasn't just flowing one way. Human creativity and Kraxan precision merged, sending their own discoveries back to the architects. A dialogue millions of years in the making had finally begun. You know, Rivera said, looking at the beautiful complexity of information flowing between dimensions, when we first detected your fleet, we thought we were facing an invasion. When we arrived, Nexer replied, his crystalline form refracting light in patterns that expressed amusement, we thought we were starting a conquest. And instead, Chen finished, watching humans and Kraxan working together to process the architect's knowledge. We all found our way home. Above them, the darkness between dimensions continued to shift, not destroying reality but transforming it, as children and parents across multiple realities began to learn from each other at last.